Hey guys, here's the gear for today. We're going to be using the spoiler blade, a vintage blade from Gillette. Put that card down. And then a new soap that I haven't tried before, the scent of, at least, General Patton from 345. I have tried a soap from them and it worked very well. The base was very good, so I have good hopes about that. With the vintage spoiler blade, we're going to be using a vintage razor. This is not a vintage handle, it's a UFO Calibri handle, but the head is the vintage new Gillette New Hybrid Tech. I'm going to keep on using the big old boar brush, the Zenith boar. It's a sub-exclusive brush from the wet shaving subreddit. It's been used 4 times. I have done at least 3 hair dryer treatments with it. One day I missed shaving, but I had soaked the brush. So what I did was I just did a hair dryer treatment with no shave to help it age along. I stropped it on the towel first and I used the hair dryer. Now I'm doing a very gentle hair dryer treatment and I do advise that if you're going to try it. My unit has a cool button, so I use warm, but then every once in a while I'll just hit the button for cool and just kind of work it over with the cool setting, just blowing air on it, you know, just being very gentle with the tips. We don't want to get them crispy or anything like that. All right. A few days of growth on today. Here's the look of this one, right? Very brown. The scent is not super strong from the tub here. You know, kind of ambery, maybe leather, maybe some tobacco, which makes sense if we're talking about a patent-oriented soap. I have not read the notes on this, so this is kind of a blind evaluation. Let me get my face wet. And here's what the spoiler looks like. As usual, I'll tell you a little bit about the hybrid tech. It's called the hybrid because the base plate, this middle part here, is just like the new long comb with that slot going down the middle, the thickness of it, the design, all that stuff. But with a long comb, it would be an open comb over here and over here instead of the safety bar. And so that's why this is called the hybrid tech. It's the only one, that's why it's rare as well. It's the only one that has a solid bar that's part of the Gillette New collection. It's I have to catch it very carefully, try not to cut myself. All right, it does appear that it worked. All right, very good. And there's a face wash there during that break. I have started to do that lately as I'm not shaving daily as much as I used to. And so I find that the beard oil, natural oil, I'm an oily skin kind of guy, and that does work against the first pass of lather. You could just use that first pass of lather to, and sometimes maybe not be surprised if it were to be less effective. But since I'm working with you guys and evaluating lathers and things like that, I thought it'd be more kind to put the soaps on equal ground with a face wash every once in a while, if I feel like maybe my skin has too many oils. So let's take and shake. Leave a little bit of water in there. Hadn't been used in a while. Bought it used. And let's see, what shall we do? 30 seconds sounds good. I probably won't need that amount. Started at 15, so no, let's do 20. Well, 30 seconds because it's a young boar brush. I could probably get away with 20. And look at that. The color of this one is not white. And so if you are kind of vain about your brush colors, there are a few soaps out there that you probably don't want to use on some of your brushes. Man, that's a lot of extra suds there. I'm kind of cleaning up, and don't really need to use it as a face wash, but what it can do is to kind of help reinforce the scent, get me starting to enjoy that, learn a little bit about it. Some soaps, boy, you do need to use them 3 or 4 times before you really start appreciating the scent. I don't know, it's just something about it. Probably something sciencey, but I don't know what it is. Man, this is very nice. In terms of scent, it's not super identifiable. There's not a lot of individual notes other than what I've already mentioned going on they're not really well blended, you know. I don't even know if I have a clean knuckle to press the pause button here. Let's try it. But if you have a pristine, lightly colored animal hair brush, synthetics you don't have to worry about. But if you have one that just looks really nice, there are some soaps, Lavanil from Bear Stearns Man comes to mind, that have a certain ingredient. You can always contact the maker, the vendor, about their ingredients, and they'll be able to tell you if they're worth their salt. They'll be able to tell you if it's going to stain your brush or not. Now I don't care, because I mean this is kind of the same color as the boar bristles anyway, right? But some people have those badger brushes that have bleached tips, and so they may really like to preserve the color of those tips, you know. Hey, each to his own. It's our little hobby. We can enjoy it as we see fit. The tips are looking really nice and curly in many cases with this brush. And so I'm kind of expecting, even right now perhaps, not really needing to do any extra lather. I think it's going to stop killing lathers already. This base looks like it's kind of in that milk steak category, or even the Black Watch, the Highland base that Seaforth uses. We used that recently. Kind of that a soft, fuzzy kind of slickness. It's not my favorite, but works well. I did find with the Highland base that I could add quite a bit of water to it, and it would still, it improved it. I was feeling a little slow with it on the first pass, so I added some water, and then I really liked what happened to it. And so maybe this is going to be in kind of that same family. It definitely has the same appearance in terms of the texture of it, the development of it as we're bringing it alive here. This brush is actually kind of difficult to hold on to. It's so chubby, and it has some basic contours. Let me try. It's a little slippery right now because of the lather. Okay, there we go. This is probably the best way to go, and that is a common hold for brushes. I just hadn't really tried it yet with this one. Often I can do more this hold with pointy fingers, and it works well, but that hold is starting to not feel all that secure because of the slipperiness of the lather. And always, if you want to get rid of the lather around the handle, just take it down and rinse it off. And so there you go. Now normally this kind of appearance would indicate to me I need to keep adding water with a soap that's kind of purely based on slickness. But the new generation of soaps that are focused on moisturizing and butters and oils and things like that, you have to kind of treat them differently. What do we have in here? Stearic acid first, beef tallow, and then milks, donkey, camel, and goat milk. Shea butter, coconut oil, palm oil. Anything else in here? Castor oil, glycerin, grapeseed oil, cocoa butter, yogurt, lanolin, apricot oil, almond oil, jojoba oil, another butter, another butter, another butter, kokum butter. Holy cow. Oh, hydrolyzed silk protein. I think that's the one that's in the new silk tallow version of Chiseled Face. So man, there are so many oils and butters in this mixture here. We have added about 18 or 19 so far. Let's do a little bit more. See if we can take this lather to a really nice hydration level, make the best slickness out of it that we can. I am still detecting the backbone of the brush here. You know, it's going to be very slow to splay. I think the tips are going to split a lot sooner than it really opens up to splay. And it, honestly, the splay I think is always going to be something that it's kind of restricted on this brush. The way it's just so dense with fibers, with bristles. And then the way they don't have a built-in cone shape to them like many of the Simogue brushes do, like some of the Zenith brushes do as well. So I think we're ready to go with this one. And let me rinse this. Sometimes I leave this on as a test, but my face isn't drying out at all. Sometimes that tells me a little bit about the soap. So that tells me that I'm agreeing with experientially the fact that we've got tons of butters and oils in this soap, because it's being very, it's not being drying or anything like that at all. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, there we go. Very comfortable. The hair dryer now. Still lots of backbone behind those soft tips. You know, but then the kind of curled up tips are what you're moving across your face at this point. Once we get more and more of the tips to split, it'll be more consistent. And the brush is not killing the lather at all. So that's good. In my first few uses, I was getting some irritation. Wonder if that might be over now. And the thing is, it would happen at near the end of the shave. It was almost a surprise. Made me wonder, was it the razor and the blade, or was it the brush? I did choose the Hybrid Tech today because of the longer length. This is a more medium aggression razor. It's not super smooth, so it's going to be able to handle this growth easily. A little bit of tugging here. The spoiler, by and large, this one has done really, really well. It is giving me some tugging right now, though. But that's kind of to be expected with like 4 days of growth. Not shaving for the purpose of getting rid of all the hair at this point, just kind of doing a pass, reduction. And then a little bit of a half rinse. So you've seen the lather fly off of the brush here, and while that is kind of inconvenient and a little messy, and some of you guys definitely will want to not quite put as much water in it as I have, this is perfect for me. This is right exactly where I want it to be. It's got a luxurious, lightly creamy nature to it, while also being highly hydrated and very, very slick. The little half rinse that I did just now, skin felt wonderful. For practical purposes, you may want to back off on the water just a little bit from this, if you don't want to make a mess though. It really is very nice. Cross grain. As usual, I'm taking a balanced approach with the razor. I'm running the blade with pretty equal exposure on the equal pressure on the safety bar as well as the top cap. And that's my general practice, unless I feel a razor starting to give me a little bit of irritation because of aggression. Oh, there's a little twinge right there. I wonder if I'm going to get a weeper right around there. That's strange. I think maybe that was a valley, and maybe I had a little short lapse in technique where maybe I hit the valley at the wrong angle or something like that. Just proof that this spoiler will still cut. It's got a good many uses on it. I want to guess maybe about 10, but honestly I really don't know. And that's the second pass, and I don't see any blood yet, so maybe that was just a little scrape. That, my friends, is a very smooth face, and the residual slickness here, my skin just feels extra hydrated. It feels buttery and oily and smooth and all that kind of stuff. Not in a slow, buttery kind of way, you know, but just in a very nourished, good kind of way. So that was a 30-second load. 23 milliliters of water. With this having the backbone it does, if you were to take a soft 3-band Badger, that's going to change the load time, because this guy's probably going to pick up more soap because of his backbone and all that. So you will need to vary your load times if you switch brushes, if the brushes vary quite a bit. Comfortable brush now. I have, how many passes of lather left over? I may be able to get 3 passes out of that, but definitely 2 very nice, comfy passes. Third pass just is going to be a touch-up. Matter of fact, sometimes the third pass, because if the first 2 have done a great job at removing the hair, a third pass can actually be a pass where you work on your angles, where you pay attention to the sound and the feel, and you work on your angles, because in certain razors, you know, only that perfect angle at the very end is going to get that last little bit of your stubble. A slightly off angle is still going to cut something on the first pass. However, once you get to that third pass, your angle is going to need to be right if you're going to get a really good shave. So there's a little homework for you. Next time you're in your third pass, pay attention. Unless, of course, you have a really aggressive razor, and then it really doesn't matter what angle you use, because you're always going to have some exposed blade there. Residual slickness is very nice. It continues to be very nice here. Even if I don't kind of spread the remnants of the lather around on my face. Scent here is there. It's very easy going, because it's kind of that woody tobacco, you know, ambery kind of family, without anything really punchy, like a really high cedar or a some kind of citrus, you know. And so it's normal, I think, for the scent strength to be a little on the low side with something like this. I definitely enjoyed it, but it's not very strong. I'd say maybe 4 out of 10. Where'd my lid go? Here we go. So this is Patton. I might not mind it being a little stronger. That could be because it sat open by the previous user, you know. That could have lost some strength due to that. But like I said, I could also see this just being the nature of its type of scent. The low notes that it has. Boy, and because of that, because it's almost like these are supporting notes, you could, boy, I think wear about anything after it. You could wear some citrus. You could do lavender. You could do, about the only thing you might not want to do is another collection of those other bass notes if they might clash. But see, I think this number 63 from Prix de Provence would probably be great. It's got some similar notes. The soap kind of makes me feel nourished, so I could definitely go with a splash if I wanted to. And so this, you know, this Brandy spice here from Clubman, I think maybe, oh, that's Reserve. Okay. Well, you know, I doubt that means anything in real life. Let me get a good rinse here, and then we'll put some of that on. Now, I have noticed with these buttery soaps, oils and butters and skin goodies, sometimes that is diametrically opposed to the lathering aspect. The ultra slickness in the soapy, pure slickness kind of way. Kind of tobacco. Fine accoutrements, classic pucks, that sort of thing. Milk steak, this base, holy cow, silk tallow from Chiseled Face. And what do those have in common? Sometimes, milkshak's not this way, but the holy cow, definitely the silk tallow. Because these buttery and oil sometimes fight against the latheriness of a soap, you have to use more product to get the lather that you need. And so in this family over here, that may mean that this soap also is not quite as economical. I'm not going to say it is or isn't. You need to do some tests. A good way to try it would be to take a 1/4 teaspoon and mash all that into your lather bowl and see what it gives you. See how much lather it gives you. If it gives you 5 or 6 passes of lather, then that means it's going to be like a lot of the soaps that are out there now, like Sterling and Barrister and Mann and, you know, Noble Otter and Summer Break, Mammoth, those guys. And so that means it's going to be pretty typical with the conservative kind of thing. Sterling's very conservative because it's, to me, it's really focused on pure slickness. And there are a little bit some skin goodies in there, but it's mainly focused on being slick and awesome. It's kind of how I interpret it. Well, there we go. The spoiler did very well. Yep, I ended up not really having any weepers or anything like that at all. So let's hit up with the Brandy Spice. Surely that will work with this soap. I don't think I would mind at all having this splash. I think that would be a good one. A little bit of brandy type scent. I think that would be definitely in the wheelhouse, in the intention, along the same vibe and topic as a general Patton type effort, right? A little bit of brandy. And the spices don't seem to be conflicting at all. I think that's a nice transition. I think that'll work well. Well, there we go. You know, actually the spices and the brandy here are kind of taking over the low strength of the soap. I definitely like the scent of the soap better. So I would, if I had this splash, I would definitely use it instead of this Brandy Spice. So what I'm going to do for you today, since we have a little bit extra time, we are done with the shave, and so if that's what you came for, then we're done. I have just finished rinsing out my brush here. I'm going to towel strop it. I'm going to bring that back and show it to you. And then what I'm going to do is do my hairdryer treatment here in front of you, just so you can see what I'm doing to this this boar brush as we are training it up, as we're watching it mature, and mainly for documentation, for myself as well. Years down the road, I may wonder what I did with this guy, and who knows, maybe it could be harmful. I'm trying to be conservative, so hopefully not. But I'll be right back with the towel stropped brush. So today was its 5th use, and it honestly was pretty comfy. It definitely didn't give me any irritation or anything like that. And this is what it looks like out after towel stropping. Now pay attention to the density in here, because after I'm done with the hairdryer, you're not going to see as many dark spots because the tips are just going to multiply, right? So that's the end of the shave. We're just going to do the the hairdryer method now. And you may want to turn your volume down as we're going to work with that. And when I put the hairdryer away, you can turn it back up if you want to hear me talk. All right, so Zenith B35 boar brush, 31 millimeter knot, right here at the diameter at the base. And we're going to work it over with the hairdryer. It is set on knock things over. I'm going to put the fan speed on high, but I'm going to keep the temperature to warm. And then every once in a while, I'm going to push this little button right here, which is the cool, to keep from overheating the tips. We don't want to get them crispy. You know, the funny thing that will happen is I'll work on it for a little while, just a few minutes, and then the tips will be nice and I'll stop. But you know what will happen? I'll come back an hour later and the moisture that was down at the bottom will have, because of the capillary nature of water through an absorbent material, it will come back up and they'll be they'll be moist again. So a couple times I actually did the hairdryer treatment twice in one day because I let that happen, you know. All right, so turn your volume down. Here we go. All right, notice you hopefully saw me focus on the tips here, shooting it kind of across the tips, not really into the center of the knot. I also focused on the center, the center of the top here instead of the border, because the border just gets done more quickly anyway. It'll split quicker than the center part, so I don't really have to worry about that. I'm feeling them now. They're not crispy or anything like that, so I think it's about time to stop. They've lost almost all their moisture. You can see some of those little, will it focus? See some of the, if I rotate it, maybe you can see some of the curly tips. So yeah, And it's funny, it kind of feels almost dry right now, but in an hour, and I can feel the moisture right here. That moisture will just come up as it kind of seeks to equalize. We got dry up here, we got moist down here. It'll eke up into that, and they'll be even softer to the touch because that moisture will come up. So we've got just, if I pull out a chunk, I've seen splits of about 4 or 5 splits on the same tip. Now see this guy right here, he is just dangling out there. He's kind of thicker than the rest. And so I'm actually going to yank him out. Probably inverted. And so we don't need him. Yeah, there's a couple of, there's 3 tip. Oh, there's a curly little messy looking one. Little red-headed stepchild. Yeah, he just kind of instantly broke the minute I touched him. So there we go. Lots of nice little splits. Now you can see we see just kind of curly softness here instead of the empty space that we did earlier. That's all there is to it. That's the kind of hairdryer method that I'm using. And later on in the day when it is kind of moist, I will come back and I may just use the cool setting. I may turn the temperature only to cool and just rake it across just like you saw me do. So that's it. That's what I'm doing to help this boar mature quicker, get soft quicker. Hopefully it's not destructive. I don't make any promises that it's not destructive. I think it's probably going to be safe based on an educated guess and based on reports from other people. But I just have such a big brush collection that I just can't use it and let that be the only way I make it mature, because it'll take so long, because I have such a big rotation that it won't be comfy. It won't be super comfy. It won't get into that brush nirvana state where the boar is just magical. And those guys who have taken their brushes to that point, I've just heard them talk about their boar brushes. You get a relationship with it as you have used it so many times, as you've watched it change, as you've felt it become something that was just right up your alley, soft and comfy. It started off like a broom, and now it's like lamb's wool, you know, it's just crazy. And so guys do actually form a bond with some of the boar brushes sometimes. Well, I've just got so many that I have to have some kind of accelerator. Otherwise, I'm going to be retired, and finally I'm getting into the comfort that I want from my boar brushes. So I have taken to using an accelerator. But if you just want to use it, that's just fine. That's what a lot of guys are doing with the ones who bought this sub-exclusive brush. Sub is another name for a forum. It's what Reddit calls a forum, basically. And the guys who bought, we've got about 20 or 30 guys that are reporting in as they break it in. And I don't think anybody has said they're using a hairdryer, except for maybe one other guy. So that's why I specifically chose, I was almost going to be safe and just use it, maybe long soaks. But I decided to go ahead and break it in with a hairdryer, since I was about the only guy who was doing that. It'll be interesting to compare my results with theirs. Success with the General Patton from 345. That's a very, very nice base. Made my skin feel good. Very enjoyable. Very slick, protective. Had a nice scent. I really enjoyed the scent. The Brandy spice afterwards didn't really interfere in a contrasting way, but it did kind of take over the niceness that I really thought the Patton had. The razor and blade did well. A little bit of tugging because we had 4 days of growth on or something like that. But otherwise, it was a good choice. The spoiler continues to be a good blade for me. Don't have too many of those. And there we go. That's the shave for today. I hope that it is going to help you somehow in your shaving journey. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.